me teach you about the cold, harsh reality of a startup that no one cares about.
As much as I love the primes, because we can't take this country to war necessarily without that. Like, we just need more people producing more things.
Yeah.
And so, if you look at a map of the U.S., I think what would be super helpful is
Nic Adams is a partner at Washington office, a strategic firm for frontier tech companies. He recently served as professional staff member on the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. His issue portfolio included defense, intelligence, foreign affairs, energy, science, space, and technology for numerous different members of Congress. Nic was also a commissioned officer in the United States Army, deploying several times to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, and to Jordan and Iraq in the global war on terror.
Nobody wants to get into a war.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. So you want to stay out of them, and in order to do that, you just have to have
I really don't think people are doing it.
Yeah.
Like, they look at the video or they watch these cute little quadcopters, but like they're not envisioning bombs on all these.
Right.
And then a million.
And they're cheap, right?
And
you
they're
can get
cheap.
so many of them, and they're attritable. So
And
like,
someone's
yeah.
literally trying to tell me we'll just zap them out of the sky.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Tell me about the Washington office. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so that's great. So Washington office, strategic advisory firm. So we're really looking at the defense tech ecosystem, but really just tech overall, right? So think frontier tech, everything from robotics, AI, drones.
Nuclear?
I mean, yeah, but we're looking at things like that as well.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're a startup in that tech space and you're looking to bring that to market at some point, or you're like, how do I get through this Washington? And then what it does is basically we have folks, as part of our advisory network that have done all this stuff, right? Either you've had guys that have, been at DOD or been on the Hill, and a lot of different folks that have just lived and breathed this city.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're a startup and you're coming through and you're not really sure what to expect when you get here, you've got a whole network of advisors that can help you get there.
All right, let's talk about living and breathing this city. That is Iggy. I like it.
Yeah.
So what does it mean for pretend I'm a startup founder who doesn't know what I'm doing. Like, what is this city like? What's the point? I don't get. What's the Hill?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, right? And it's one of those things that even I didn't really understand before I came here, right? So like I started out in the Army, and everything was pretty straightforward in terms of.
And you were infantry officer? What were you?
No, I was an intel officer.
Intel.
Yep. So
Look
I
at that,
kind
I'm totally messing up your background.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Intel, okay, Intel.
Yeah, so it was everything, right? So the good thing about an intel officer is you can kind of serve in any unit, because every unit needs one. So I spent most of my time, I actually started out in an intel unit, and then I went to 10th Special Forces Group, and kind of one of the JSOC units after that.
Okay.
So,
You're a JSOC guy?
Yeah, and it was
hell yeah.
during kind of like the 2013 time frame, so there was a lot going on during that time.
That was Obama time.
It was actually, I think 08, right? So,
08,
although I'll say in terms of like the use of special operations during that time frame like went up dramatically, right? Like just the amount of like drone strikes that we took, and just the use of SOF to go after kind of high value targets.
Yeah.
I mean, during that time, it was actually a pretty good time to be in special operations because there was a lot of activity. And of course, I mean, things were busy then, right? I mean, that was kind of the height of the ISIS fight, right? 2013 to 2016.
How did you find your way from that to the Hill?
Yeah.
So you worked out, for the listeners, tell us about after that. Like, what did you do after the Army?
Yeah, no, it's great. So I hit about 10 years, and I thought to myself, like, I think it's time to do something a bit different now. So, and I didn't know what different looked like necessarily, so I decided to come to D.C. and pursue a grad degree at Johns Hopkins.
Okay.
Met a few folks there, actually, that were Hill staff and prior Hill staff, and some folks that had graduated from there. So I just kind of reached out and said, hey, I'd love to, learn a bit more about what you do, and I'm going to grab a coffee. And kind of from there, got introduced to some folks in their network. And then I just got this idea in my head, like I could go work on the Hill. I could advise members of Congress on defense policy, because that's what I've been doing for 10 years. And then take what I've learned, in grad school and apply that. So it was really just meeting some folks that were doing it.
And so you found your way to a senator's office, or what?
Yeah, so I started out in the House.
Okay, started out in the House.
Yep, started in the House as a military legislative assistant for a congressman from Ohio. And He was great. He was actually a member of the House Armed Services Committee. This is kind of my first Hill gig. So really, was like, all right, what do I do? Like, where's the coffee machine? Like, let's figure this out. And no, it was great. I mean, I got to work his whole defense portfolio. So when it got time to write the yearly defense authorization bill, write the NDAA, that was like my thing, right? I was point on that. So like cut my teeth on that bill that first year, figuring out what goes in it, all of the different people that work on it, right? Staff and members. And then it's also like trying to figure out, like, everybody has a priority, right? So if you've got like, all these members trying to put their priority in, it's a lot of negotiation involved.
Now the NDAA, that is like the document, from what I understand, because we got to try to get language in there too as a company, that you try to like get word. It's not about money. It's more about information, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's important to like distinguish like the NDAA from like the appropriations bill, right? Because those are two different things. But what's important about the NDAA is that like it's the authorizing bill. So if there's a program that somebody's trying to get started, like that bill is going to provide the policy framework and it's going to authorize the money that is then appropriated to that program.
Pull up when they did the first NDAA. Do you know when?
I was like 60 some years ago at this point.
Let's pull that up. Let's figure it out. NDAA, Wikipedia. Let's get some action on this. Let's get some. I'm taking the under. I'm thinking it's probably 60 years.
Yeah, it's like
1961. All right. So it's an actual document though.
Oh, it's a bill. I mean, it's got force of law.
But
so,
but you also like they always update it every year.
Yeah. So every year there's a bill.
All right, here we go. 1961.
Yep. So since then we've passed it, and that bill typically has information in there, but like it is law, right? So it'll provide for pay raise for troops in many cases. In 2020, we actually passed. People don't always know about this, but in the FY21 NDAA, we passed what was then known as CHIPS for America. Which people now know as CHIPS and Science Act, right? Yeah. And the appropriations for that passed in 2022. Yeah. But in 2020, like we were sitting here and we realized like, Taiwan is going to potentially build a semiconductor fab in Arizona, right? TSMC. And, my boss who I was working for at the time was like, we really need to like produce these semiconductors here in the United States. But like we should really make it to where, we can help American companies and incentivize them to ramp up production. And so when we wrote that bill, like we put it into the NDAA because we saw the national security and the defense implications of producing semiconductors, which goes into everything, right? I mean, people didn't realize then, like it's not just your phones and it's like not just like missiles and things like that, but it's like cars and washing machines, right? So so that bill actually, I think, kind of set, like it was kind of a watershed moment where we started looking at a light touch industrial policy, right? Without getting too deep into it, because, this country's founded on free markets and we should continue to do that because it's successful. But in situations where, you've got a large competitor overseas that we would potentially have to rely on for supply chains in case of a conflict, like we saw that as an issue that we needed to solve in Congress.
Okay. That makes sense. All right, so you were doing this for you did 10 years as an intel officer, right? And then 10 years of this, maybe, or?
So it's been about 7 years now, and I kind of bounced around. So I started.
You had a couple different offices. You're an influential guy on the Hill, like just like we're the #1 defense tech podcast. You're one of the #1 influencers on the Hill. I've seen you up there.
I'll take it.
Real Hill rat.
I'll take
Real
it.
Hill rat.
Well, it's funny how fast
Hill
you
creature.
can become one, right? Yeah, it's true. No, I mean it's a really interesting ecosystem up there, right?
It really is.
And it really does. I mean, it's all relationships based, and all that matters is like, you have to be knowledgeable 100%. Like, right, you've got to know what you're talking about because you're advising policymakers and decision makers. But like the relationships you make up there, like across party lines and across committees, across the different chambers. I mean, that's huge because you're not going to be able to move things through Congress if you don't like create and then maintain those relationships.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I think about this a lot for my company, but like a big part of defense tech and probably why you're at the Washington office trying to help is like a lot of the money comes from the civilians. It doesn't come from, like we're a civilian controlled military. Yeah. So like the military isn't really deciding everything. Like
no, you're absolutely right.
It's the civilians. And so, like, it's kind of on some. I talked to some younger founders in the space, and they think, "Oh, I'm going to make this sweet product, and I'm going to sell it to the Defense Department."
Yeah.
And you're like, well, they have no money.
Right.
So what do you do? So like, you can't. And you're going to need to create the money from the Hill.
Right. Well, and that's where I think Washington office is helpful, right? Because it's, former Hill staff, but then there's folks that have been at DoD that have sat on like the Defense Innovation Board, for example. Or, we've got, like I said, a huge like advisor network of folks that have like done all of these things from the authorizing to the oversight to the appropriations and also the implementation, right? So let's say you get like an appropriation in a bill that goes to a specific funding line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it goes to a company, right?
No, it goes to this line. Like,
that's right.
It's the P line.
And then you still have to compete for it. And so that's where I think things can get kind of tricky, right? Like a lot of, I think, startups like see the appropriations as like, okay, if we can get that $10 million in the bill, like we're good, it's going to come to us. But I think that's where, like, again, like Washington office is going to be able to help because we're going to be able to connect you with the right people to have those conversations. Because a lot of then what matters is like the program managers and the program offices, right? Like where does that money go? Who gets it? And those relationships are as important, I think, as the relationships that you have, on the Hill.
Yeah, of course. And you guys would say you're very like, I'll use the dev term. You're full stack. You're helping get maybe like work on the appropriations, the PE line, but you're also helping connect it to the program office, to the DoD. You're trying to connect all the dots for these companies.
Right, and a lot of
there's
times,
a lot going on. So.
Yeah, and part of the problem too is like a lot of folks like that are new to this don't know where all the dots are. I didn't know where all the dots were.
I mean,
right?
shit. I literally run a company in this space. I'm still learning where the dots are.
Right,
like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's just important. So, so like to your like question at the beginning, like what does a startup do when they come here? Well, again, it's like understanding what the human terrain looks like, right? Which I guess that's a military term, but understanding like what are you trying to accomplish. Who are the key relationships that we need in order to make that happen? And then really it's like talking to those folks, establishing the relationships, linking folks up, and then building a strategy like tailored to each company to like connect those dots and then help them find dots that
honestly, like it just seemed too overwhelming for me. So I just decided to start a podcast. I was like, fuck it,
just
like
bring people on
honestly
and talk about
can't
it,
even really get it. We're just podcasting. By the way, do you want some magnesium aloe spray?
Yeah, what is that?
Dude, it's amazing. Here.
That's like skin.
Dude, just spray this on me.
It.
Just smelled it. I mean, it's
it
amazing. You need some magnesium in your life.
Dude, yeah. Great.
Dude, how good does that smell?
It's good, man.
Yeah. This is probably like $80 or something. That's crazy. But
just put out little things for your guests and just
hold it up with the camera.
Yeah.
We get a little affiliate link maybe.
Wait, well, we're not really sponsored by Aloe. I mean, no, obviously
affiliate.
Aloe sponsors us. Yeah. No, we're some of the investors that we don't like started wearing Aloe, so we stopped wearing it.
Okay.
Me and my entrepreneur friends were real catty, so like we were wearing a bunch of Aloe gear, and then we saw a couple of investors start wearing it, and we're like, okay, VCs are wearing it now, it's not cool anymore.
Yeah, I've seen the baseball caps, man.
Yeah, so we've moved on. Okay, so magnesium spray, by the way, just so you know, first of all, it says it's vegan, clean, and cruelty-free.
Those are all good things.
Cruelty-free.
I mean, it's good, right?
Honestly, it makes you kind of think like, what's cruel? Like, what are some products that aren't cruelty-free? Like, dude,
that's a good question.
I say it says spray under your skin and massage in, focusing areas of tension or fatigue before savasana or yoga. I guess savasana, yoga, or any time for recovery and relaxation.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean,
just throw it on after pull-ups, man. After your morning routine.
All right, so we got to the NDAA and the other appropriations bill. That's like there's like the NDAA is like I remember last year. So just for an example, we got some language in there to have the DoD write a report to Congress looking at the legacy gun turrets. So like that's for the startups listening, that's like a common example. Like you talk to the Hill, you say, hey, we want to get language in here that like has them research this area that's like critical. So it starts to get them all thinking about this topic. So that's like one use of it. It wasn't about money. Like we just wanted to get some language in there saying, hey, you guys should take a look at this.
Yeah.
That's like one use. And then there's the appropriations bills, from what I understand, or there's one bill. I don't know if there's multiple. There's like 12 bills.
It's 12, yeah.
But one of them's for defense.
Right.
And that's where they do like funding to different like PE lines.
Right.
And those are usually connected to like different offices, like program offices in those services, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is. Okay.
Yeah, and I think what is important to mention too is like you can get reports language or report language in either the NDAA or you can get it in the Approps bill. And like what that often does too is it'll like spur DoD to do something, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're a company and you're trying to like gun turrets is a great example. Like let's have them look at legacy gun turrets and like produce a report within like 180 days of the bill's passage, right? What that then does is it comes back to Congress. And then the staffer that was working on that particular issue can then take the report and say, oh, so all these legacy turrets, you're not making parts anymore, or it's the supply chains stretch across like 30 countries or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so you start looking at the report, and then you can use that to like legislate something.
Yeah.
So like one of the strategies, and I think people sometimes say, well, report language doesn't do anything. If you do it right, you can use a report to then justify a bill the following year that really gets at solving some of the issues that have been identified.
Exactly.
Right.
And on a startup timeline, you're probably out of business by then. So
and
that's great.
And that's where I think we actually, it's funny you mentioned that. We wrote a bill last year called the Enable IC Acquisitions Act, which we were actually trying to like solve that, at least for the Intel community.
Yeah.
So the last 4 years I've been on the Hill, I've been on the Senate Intelligence Committee. And so like the primary like job there is like oversight of all the intel agencies.
Yeah.
But like part of that is also like making sure they have what they need, right? Like everybody focuses on DoD and the warfighter, which is super important. Like there's this whole other kind of community in the government that doesn't have as much visibility, which is like, your intel agencies. But they're going to need the right software, or they're going to need the right also hardware, right, to go out and collect the intel that we need in order to answer the questions that the warfighters have, the policymakers have. And so it's equally important that they get kind of the same opportunities to procure the things they need. And so this bill, we only got like half of it passed. Like part of it died in conference, unfortunately, which is just kind of
hold
the way
on.
it
So
goes
check it out.
sometimes.
So Enable IC was the name, right?
Enable IC.
Now you said something very
Acquisitions
interesting
Act,
that a lot of people, and we're doing the deep cuts today, really educating. Obviously, number one defense podcast. We have to educate.
That's right.
You said died in conference.
Yeah.
I know what that means because I'm in the biz. But why don't you explain it for the guests?
Yeah, no, I mean, and I'm glad we're getting to this.
I'm in the biz.
That's an important piece of it. Number one defense podcast, you've got to be in the biz, man.
I'm in the biz,
That's
dog.
it, dude.
So died in conference. That's hot.
Yeah, right. No, it's a good soundbite too. So essentially, what happens is, right. So like, let's take the NDAA, right. The House passes their version, and the Senate passes their version.
Yeah.
And so you've got these two bills that, in some ways, are like in competition with one another, right.
Mm-hmm.
Because you may have some priorities that have gotten put in the House bill that are not in the Senate bill, or vice versa. So once each bill passes kind of like its chamber, then we have this conference process where it's primarily staff initially get together and say, okay, well, what's in your bill? This is what's in ours. And then you essentially have to negotiate what ends up in the final bill because they get mashed together. And then that final product is going to end up having to pass both chambers of Congress again before it goes to the president. So, and this is part of the reason why this takes so long, right? Like if you look at the NDAA's timeline, like let's just give it any given like perfect year, right? You're going to get the budget from the White House like February, March timeframe. The Armed Services Committee is going to solicit input like, April, May. They're going to mark it up in July.
Yeah.
Ideally, it passes by, or goes through conference by October, November, and passes by December. Like that's typically how like we've seen these things happen.
Yeah.
But that conference process, like just because you've gotten something passed in like the House bill, doesn't mean it survives this negotiation, which is called conference. And so then it's actually really important, like if there's a priority that you've managed to get into a bill, that you then like continue to fight for it after it passes.
Yep.
Right. One of the things that I have found that worked really well was when I was writing legislation for my boss is like so I was in the Senate, but like have a House strategy, right?
Yeah.
So like talk to members' offices in the House that care about that issue. So we wrote a bill, I guess it was 2 years ago now, about it's called the Sensible Classification Act. Like we basically were trying to figure out like how do we declassify stuff and classify things more effectively.
Yeah.
And so we found people like on the House side that cared about that, and then like we just generated a lot of interest on both sides of the the Hill. And then when we got to conference, we had nearly identical bills like already passed. And so it was much easier to then work through the conference process because it like, it's not like Democrats and Republicans negotiating against each other. It's like the House versus the Senate.
Well, no, what's the phrase? I heard there's like three parties. There's like Republicans, Democrats, and appropriators.
It's not wrong. I mean, that's such a good way to put it.
There's 3 parties
Yeah.
in Congress.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing, right? Like, let's say you've gotten all these things done, right, and it doesn't die in conference. Well, then you still have to convince the appropriators to like fund it,
Yeah.
and that's where like they're 2 separate bills, but they're both important. Like people will make like just the approps play, but like the authorization is important too. And like if it's in the NDAA, like it basically like directs DoD to do certain things, right? The appropriations bills will do that too, but like having interacted with a ton of lobbyists over the last few years, like the good ones will come in, like they'll have a play for approps, they'll have a play for NDAA, and they will have like a 1-pager or something, and be able to just kind of hit it and like tell you exactly why this is important, and then you can kind of move out with that.
I feel like Dies in Conference could be like our lobbyist podcast title. Died in Conference.
Yeah.
It's a lobbyist podcast.
That's good.
And we just get lobbyists on. You guys talk about how you guys all had your stuff die in conference. Got fucked.
Man, you probably have like a line at the door, people whose things have died in conference. And
Yeah.
what's crazy too is like sometimes it's just because someone doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Or like it could be great policy.
Sounds like the people that do the conferencing have a lot of power.
Well, ultimately it's the members, right?
Yeah.
So yes, like the staff are the ones that are gonna like come together and negotiate the bills. Ultimately, the members will decide what goes in. But typically, like as a staffer, you're going to provide the member with a 98% solution, right? Like the things that rise to the member level are really the most controversial things. And so if you're talking about a relatively small like appropriation or something like that may not be the thing that goes to that particular senator. Like the staff are probably going to work that out.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, and so why did you could have obviously worked for Druva probably at Deterrence, and why did you do a consultancy instead of go in-house tech? Bro, you could have been like running legislative affairs at a company, maybe my company, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is
sell me on your choice.
No, it's a good question. So it actually happened pretty fast.
Yeah.
And it was kind of right before the holidays. And one of the founders, Miles Taylor, and I had coffee.
Yeah, Miles.
And Miles.
Good dude.
Yeah, good
Chat,
dude.
What up, Miles?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure he's listening to this right now.
Yeah,
Who doesn't listen to number one defense podcast, right?
It's obviously live. We should start just live streaming it, bro. We don't even need to edit. It's just straight live stream. It's fucking live on air.
Man.
Yeah, so Miles, you talk with him.
Yeah,
he
and
got
he's
you
obviously
hyped.
building this company. Well, no, what I love about Washington office, right, is it's not one firm. It's a firm, but it's not one particular tech, right?
Yeah.
It's all sorts of things from, if you look at the website, there's a bunch of
Yeah,
things.
I've been on
It's a
it.
pretty cool website, right?
Pull it up.
It's written like the it's
Washington
like the
office.
Yeah, it's like I think it's yourwashingtonoffice.com, but
Your
you'll see
Washington
it.
office. Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, so
here we go.
this is a cool website, right? Like it's the National
Nice.
Security Bill of 1947, right? And then it goes through, and as you scroll down, it changes into what the office is and what they do.
Shit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, they got a little Star Wars here. New
Yeah,
Hope.
that's right. Some Star Wars references.
I'm training for the Star Wars Unlimited Intergalactic Championship in August.
What does that entail?
So I play a lot of Star Wars cards.
Okay.
It's like it's kind of like Magic the Gathering,
Yeah, Yep.
but Star Wars.
Okay.
And it's the World Championships are in August at the Venetian in Vegas.
Okay.
So besides running my sweet venture-backed defense tech company and doing podcasts, really what I'm after this year is I need to win this Star Wars tournament. I have to beat these gamers. It means more to me than pretty much anything.
It's cards though. It's not like
It's
online
cards,
or anything.
Yeah, pull
Not like that.
up Star Wars Unlimited, Jack. I'll show you. Go like Star Wars Unlimited Reddit. Yeah, this is good. All right, click that. That's the subreddit here. Here we go. Scroll down a little. I'll just show you one of these cards. Oh yeah, here's scroll down. That one sucks. Here we go. Data Vault. So how it works. Not that the guests actually care about this, but whatever. Or not
That's
that
awesome, man.
So you have a base, like think of like a base like Hoth or like Endor or whatever, some Star Wars like area. That's your base. So this is Data Vault. It's a base. So that has 33 health. And your dex, and it has a drawback. So, because 30 health every base has 30 health usually. So you get 3 extra health, but you have a drawback where you have to have a bigger deck than. So, like if you have a 50 card deck, now you have to have a 60 card deck.
Okay.
And that means your variance goes up because as a 50 card deck, you almost know what's in it.
Yeah.
If you had 10 more cards, now you have like a bunch of variance. Anyway, so that's like a base. And then you have a leader. Go back. Scroll down. Here, just scroll down. We'll find a leader. Now go back to the main. So how it works is basically you have that base. with your health, and then scroll. Okay, and then you have a leader. Like so,
Okay.
Luke, your leader would be like Luke Skywalker. Okay, so you basically how it works is you have your leader, which could be like Palpatine or like Luke or like Leia, and then you have your base, and then your opponent has their leader and their base, and you like flip them up. Then you draw your 6 cards each, and then you battle.
I like it.
Yeah, so like,
That's cool.
anyways, that's the game. It's sweet.
Yeah.
We can all play.
Is this like worldwide? So it's like people from everywhere? Or
I would
just-
say it's worldwide, but like there's only like 10,000 people that play. I mean, it's like it's not a popular game.
Okay.
Well, maybe it's more popular. I mean, who knows? But either way, it's taken off.
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
By the way, I love like watching Jack's like his recent like Reddit. Like you can just like creep on Jack. Like you can see he's really into podcasting, video editing. I mean, he's obviously we're going to the top. I mean, look at what he's
right. That's right.
Perplexity. He's got it all. Jack, you're killing it. He's got to be ready for anything because like we're gonna go anywhere. He's got to be ready to pull it up.
No, that's good.
Anyway, so Star Wars Unlimited. So the World Championship is in August. Right now, there are like regional qualifiers going on. So like you got to like qualify for Worlds by winning a regional.
Okay.
So this is a really big deal in my life.
So Vegas is regional. And
No, Vegas is the World.
that's world. Okay.
So regional
Okay.
qualifiers are like in DC here. There's
Got
there's like a regional qualifier next month.
Okay.
So like I need to win that.
Yeah.
And so like this is more important to me than obviously than the gun turret. And so like my investors, I tell them like we're building this company and all, but honestly like I have to win this Star Wars tournament.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah,
busy right
it's
now.
huge, man.
It's huge. Yeah. Okay. So back to the site. So,
Yeah.
Okay. So now where we focus.
Yeah, so this is all the different like tech that some of these clients are producing, right? So you can see the whole list, but like robotics, fintech, Intel, space systems. I think there's some pretty cool stuff in there. So if you've probably heard of like a few folks.
Well,
like,
go back up. First of all, do you have any synthetic biology clients? Because that's cool.
yeah, so I actually start next week, so I will know
Okay.
more about.
I'm like really getting Miles.
Yeah.
I'm grilling him. On
No, it's good, man.
Grilling him. Where's your synthetic bio clients?
But like Darkive, you guys have had Darkive
yeah,
on,
Darkive,
right?
yeah.
So they're producing some pretty cool things.
Yeah, they're really good. I actually really like them.
yeah.
Mike's a really good guy. I haven't met the founder, but they're like head of biz dev. I think came on.
Yeah,
Mike. Yeah,
that was a great podcast.
Dude, he's really good.
So-
He's really good.
And the type of things that are just being produced, right? Like these are some of the most brilliant people, like in America. I would even say the world, right?
Yeah.
And that's what really makes our system like work better. I mean, people can come here from anywhere, like build amazing stuff, and then like that's the stuff that is going to end up being the thing that like propels us forward, right? So whether that's in defense or like you'll see the list up there, right? There's quantum. I mean, all of this stuff has like dual use.
Yeah.
So let's take UAS, for example, right? So if you think about like Darkive or other folks that are producing like UAS systems, right? It's not just a defense application. You might use UAS to, if I don't know, if you got a cattle ranch or something, right? You want to like fly your UAS out there and take a look at all the different things. You might, if you're an oil company, you might want to fly them along your oil infrastructure.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're a first responder, you may want to use it for that. I mean, there's so many like applications for UAS that are not just defense.
Yeah.
And so like as we look at like how do we help build out like additional revenue streams? And that's one of the things as I was talking to founders, even when I was on the Hill, I would always be like, hey, what's your commercial revenue stream? And some would be like, well, we don't have one. Like we're just like solely focused on government. And the thing about government is like the money comes eventually, right? Like when we pass an appropriations bill, but having that dual like revenue stream is so like important because it helps, to your point earlier, right? Keep that startup alive longer until the government.
This is actually, I'm glad you
comes
brought us
through.
here. Actually, I wanted to talk. Like 10 minutes ago, I wanted to talk about dual use, and then you brought us here. So like we're kind of mind melding.
That's great.
Okay.
I think it's like coffee.
We got to talk about it. So, my theory on why the government likes dual use, I think it's mostly because they don't want to feel bad if they put a company out of business. So, like basically, it's like if they're dual use, we can work with them because they have another revenue stream. So if we decide to stop, we don't feel so bad. It's like more of an emotional thing. Like I always when I'm talking to the government, they're like, obviously, like if we cancel the contract, like we don't want to think the company's going out of business. Like we don't want to be the one to kill the company. So they like dual use because it's like they feel less bad. That's how I think it's kind of like.
I mean, I think the other aspect of that too is like the government may need that company for whatever widget it's producing later, right? So like there was this one company I remember when I worked for Senator Ernst from Iowa, and I would go back to Iowa sometimes to talk to some of the suppliers that were in the defense industrial base.
Yeah.
And there was one company, it was called Carver Pump, and they were, I forget what part of Iowa they were in, but they were this small company, and they produced a part that went on like U.S. Navy ships.
Yeah.
They were the only company in America that produced this part.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, well, if we, and they would call me and say, well, if we don't get this appropriation or whatever, right? It was a problem for them.
Exactly.
Obviously,
And you obviously, yeah. Like,
so the dual use is helpful because if you produce that part for, other ships that are doing civilian missions, like tankers or, freighters or whatever, like the more diverse your customer and
exactly,
your customer
the more
base
diverse
is,
your customer base,
then you've got more revenue streams coming in,
and then the government feels less bad. If
they feel less bad, but they also get to keep buying your thing, which doesn't get built anywhere else. And so I think one of the things too that
I kind of reject the whole premise of dual use though, because it's like, what do you think? Well, I just think this whole industry phrase is kind of crazy. It's like, what you think you're like some special customer, U.S. government?
Yeah.
I don't differentiate. Everyone just buys my stuff. I don't care if it's government or person. Dual use. The whole premise underpinning it is that the government's special.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but in some ways it is because
I know. Obviously it is. I'm just fucking with you.
Like, it's coming, right? The money's going to come, and when it comes, it's going to be good. The problem is, again, going back to the Hill and
I was just fucking around. Obviously the government's special. I get it, bro.
I mean, it's going to be like there's certain things that they can do that, but they move more slowly, obviously.
Yeah.
But like when that guaranteed contract comes in, like you might be the person or the company that builds like that part for in perpetuity, I guess.
You'll crack up though, honestly. Like the amount of I'm selling the gun turret to the government, and they're like, the amount of conversations where they're like, "Is this dual use?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I've got one in my pickup truck.
It's
don't
like
you?
it's a fucking gun. No, I'm like, Chinese and Russians. It's my dual use. Like, what do you? Basically,
yeah. Although, I mean, who knows, right? Like, if we find ourselves in a Mad Max world someday, you might.
Maybe. Honestly, maybe. I mean, yeah. I was like, well, this is. I try to always say like, well, this is a weapon of war.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's quite dual use.
Right.
But a lot of the and maybe I'm just like kind of opining here or whatever. But like a lot of the like budget, the new like innovation units or like whatever, a lot of these organizations have like a dual use mandate, which obviously isn't great for someone like me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, a lot of times they're like, yeah, we have a dual use mandate, so we're gonna look for companies to like fund that have commercial uses, and I'm like, so should I like hang up the phone now or what's going on, bro?
No, I mean, there's plenty of things that are not going to be dual use, right? And so we need all of it, right? And so I think the health of the industrial base is such now that you need the dual use stuff, but you also need things that are going to go solely to government, because like as much as I love the primes, because we can't take this country to war necessarily without that. Like, we just need more people producing more things.
Yeah.
And so, if you look at a map of the U.S., I think what would be super helpful is understanding like where are the production chokeholds and bottlenecks? Mm-hmm. Where are factories right now that are producing things? And how do we go from just like a defense industrial base to like back to an American industrial base where like everybody's able to produce all sorts of different things, right?
And you think do you think we should produce here?
In the U.S.? Yeah. I mean, we absolutely, we already do, right?
But like more.
Yeah, absolutely. We should produce more. I mean, I think it comes down to.
Seems like kind of shitty jobs. Like, I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be though, right? Like if you build your supply chains. So I think a couple things. One, I think nearshoring and friendshoring is useful, and we should pursue that, right? Like we should, like let's take semiconductors for example. Or even like UAS supply chains. If all of your parts, I mean, you've got the DJI drones on here, which I think is great, by the way. But if all your parts are coming from like really far away, right? And we found this in COVID. I mean, everybody realized what happened when suddenly we needed like masks and gowns. And we were like, wait, we don't make those? China makes them? Like, oh, well, how are we going to get them? Right?
And we're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? So suddenly we're like, oh, supply chains matter. And so now we're in this situation with defense where like ideally we would want to not have to rely on the most advanced chips in the world coming from literally the other side of the world, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to build things close, but if possible, like, we should bring some of that.
Yeah, so you're saying,
back to the
you're
US.
basically making the case that it's really for national security. Like we need, it's not necessarily that the jobs, like we love them, because they're kind of hard jobs and it's like a lot of work, like to build stuff, like with your hands. Physically, like in factories, but it's actually like super important from a security standpoint. Like we have to have this back here.
I don't even think like they don't all have to be like bad, like crappy jobs, right?
No,
like,
not all
like
bad. I'm
there's-
just saying, like, there's tough jobs.
Yeah,
you know,
there's
it's
tough
like-
jobs, but like you could, if you have the right machines, right? I mean, obviously deterrence is building a robotic arm, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you have
Shout
things
out,
that,
Drew.
there it is.
This is not sponsored by Deterrence, but it could be.
Good, yeah, could be.
It's low price. What's the going rate for a company to sponsor, Jack?
You have to contact us for pricing.
Oh yeah, just
We're
ballpark.
enterprise.
Okay, enterprise sales.
Yeah.
Okay. But so Deterrence could
Yeah.
sponsor. Okay.
I mean, that's a thing, right?
but he's building
So-
automated factories.
which I love, right? Like it's
Yeah.
great. But I mean, I think there's pros to like having the jobs here for the sake of jobs, but really ultimately it's for the sake of producing what we're going to need
Yeah.
in a potential conflict. And ultimately, while we're using the word deterrence, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what we want. We want to deter. Like nobody wants to get into a war.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. Like, I mean, we see what's happening in the world now with like Russia, Ukraine, or even like,
Yeah.
if you go back in history, like wars are obviously terrible. So you want to stay out of them. And in order to do that, you just have to have the right equipment to say, you never want like our adversaries waking up and being like, oh, today's the day I'm going to take on, the United States or, seize this strategically important piece of land.
That
right?
makes
Whatever
sense.
it is.
That makes
So-
sense. Okay. Yeah, I mean, totally aligned on that. I agree with you. I sounded like I was against the jobs in America, but I'm only, as a podcast host, it's mostly because I'm just trying to tease out good
That's right.
content.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my job.
Right.
As we
important.
were saying earlier, and I'm not a professional podcaster. I have to bring this back up because now we're on air, but like, I'm not a professional podcaster. And
Yeah.
I was running around the office saying that, and my engineers were like, no, you literally get paid to do this. Like, you're paying yourself to do this. You are a professional podcaster.
That's the definition of professional.
I didn't want to hear the
Yeah.
feedback, though. Okay, back to Deterrence real quick. So,
Yeah.
first of all, it's an automated factory. So, like, where's the jobs, bro? That's
Yeah.
what I always tell. I'm like, he's like, we're bringing jobs back to America. I'm like, bro, it's fully automated. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but think of the full stack, right? So someone's got to program it. Someone's got to maintain
No,
it.
no,
right?
I know.
Like,
I'm
there's so
just
many
messing
things.
around. Honestly, I'm just messing around.
And there's probably things that like those arms can't do, right? Like, you still need people to do
Yeah.
certain things.
You're gonna love this, by the way. So, can you pull up the Castelion? Do you know Castelion, the hypersonic missile? You pull up Castelion, Series A, like $100 million or whatever. We're gonna talk a little bit about
Is that how you spell it?
with OION, Castelion. Yeah. Here we go. Series A. That's perfect. Okay, now let's pull up. I want to say I kind of want to go to their website. Actually, I just go to their website. I'm sure it'll be like in.
Okay. Hold on.
You haven't seen this company when you were like working on the Hill?
No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
they're popping. So they're trying to make hypersonic.
They got light speed.
Oh,
as
yeah.
part of, yeah, that's great.
Oh yeah. Obviously,
Yeah.
once you get the big ape money, like 100 million, you
Yeah,
gotta,
no, it's legit, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
scroll. Okay, scroll down. This is great. All right, here we go. Okay, peace. This is what I wanted to bring up because I've been thinking about this a lot.
Yeah,
lately.
no, that's a beautiful slogan, man. I love that.
So whoa, bro. We're gonna challenge you on that.
Let's-
Peace
all right, let's do it.
through deterrence.
Yeah.
So, and then I think global stability requires strong democracies.
Yeah, read it out for the
Castelion exists to build the systems America and its partners need to keep a global technical edge. Okay, I think there's something else I wanted to scroll down. There's like, I want to find this phrase. Man, look at by the way,
That's
this
a great website,
by the way, this website's great.
Yeah, this thing's awesome.
Scroll up. By the way, okay, first let's look at these missiles. This looks sick.
Yeah.
By the way.
That's like straight from the 1960s,
Bro,
man. Like that's like
I
one
mean-
of those posters that you see, like you're in your elementary when they're like,
Hold on.
back when they're doing
I mean,
the drills.
I'm investing. I mean,
That's a cool. I mean,
I'm in.
that's a really cool poster. For
Dude,
sure.
honestly, that's so good. This is great. This is like podcast. We're doing an ad for Castelion here. we're hyping them up. Now, honestly, like this actually is a kind of cool company.
Yeah.
Like no hate. Like I think this is actually going to be sweet. We need some hypersonic missiles.
Yeah.
Like, look at that shit. Imagine. Okay, this is kind of crazy. Think about it. It's like, why is a startup building hypersonic missiles? Like, why is this not like being built already? Like,
Yeah.
do you, like the fact that we have to have a company that didn't exist then build this? Like, that's kind of crazy, right?
Well, but I mean, that's the thing, right? Like hypersonic research has been like done for decades, right? It's just that like we didn't weaponize it as fast, but we had all this stuff on the shelf.
Yeah.
But again, this goes back to what I was saying about American companies, right? Like that's where the strength is.
Yeah.
Right. You don't necessarily want the government making everything. You want companies to create these things that then the government contracts and built a whole bunch of. So I think that's probably the right model.
All right, let's pop this video up in full screen. We got to get the... There, here we go. Hell yeah.
As Americans, we believe in the ideals of freedom and democracy. Castelion's peace through deterrence concept is to support defending those ideals for ourselves and our allies around the world.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
That's a cool ad, man.
Okay,
I
it is.
like it.
So, okay, now we're finally to the point where we finally got it. Their peace through deterrence concept.
Yeah.
I take issue with this.
Okay.
Because that's the government's job.
Yeah.
Is to do peace through deterrence. A tech company's job is to build a product. Why are they like overstepping? It's not their job. Their job is to make a hypersonic missile.
Yeah.
Then they provide that to the government,
Sure.
who then does peace through deterrence. So like, why are these companies like? And also, I tell Drew, I make fun of Drew all the time. Like, bro, why is your company called Deterrence? Like, your job is not deterrence. Your job is to provide a factory to make bullets, and then the government does deterrence. So
Yeah.
thoughts?
No,
on the
totally.
spot?
I think so obviously you want to buy, like if you're the government, you're looking to buy a product, right? And so if the product's name is like peace through deterrence, and if you're the government, you're like, oh, that's my job. I should buy a product that helps me do that. Right?
Wait, you're really?
Then all of a sudden, like you're buying the product, right? That provides the service
All right.
that you're looking for.
No, you got
So,
me. You got
there
me.
it is.
Checkmate. Checkmate. I like that took me like 10 minutes to make my point.
No, that's all
But no,
right.
seriously, like they're just coming in. They're like, yeah, we're kind of like, we basically sell peace. We sell world peace.
What a brilliant marketing scheme,
We
man! I
sell
love it.
peace.
I love it.
It's like, no, you sell missiles, dog.
But I kind of like the like, because everybody says peace through strength, which is, that's a great, I think Reagan's like original slogan, right? But like peace through deterrence, I love the spin on that, right? Because
Yeah.
we're like, yeah, in order to deter, you've got to have strength, but you've got to be able to produce, right? And this goes back to saying we need more companies producing more things, because if we just rely on what we have now, like we just don't have, like we just need more of it, right? More good things. And so I love like the concept of what we do in this country where
Honestly, you kind of sold me on it.
Yeah,
I
that's awesome,
came in
right?
as a hater, and I'm like, you know what? You know what? That actually is pretty good.
yeah, it's awesome.
Let's go, dude. Let me get in on this funding round,
Yeah.
Lightspeed. Come on, dog.
That's right. That's good.
It's who did this? Connor Love. Do you know that guy? Lightspeed guy.
Maybe.
Connor Love. He's like a former Army. I think he
Okay.
might have been an Intel guy too.
No, I don't know Connor.
No. I don't know if he was Intel. He was Army though.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what. He's gonna, if he's listening, he's gonna be like, Steve, I've told you 5 times. Yeah. So Lightspeed, A16Z, and Lavrock. I don't know if you've heard of Lavrock VC.
No, I have. Yeah.
Okay, they're
Yeah.
actually, so I hadn't really heard of them, but I noticed a lot of defense companies that are kind of in early.
Okay.
So they might be onto something.
Yeah. No, one of my friends is at Lightspeed. I know they've got a lot of like tech that they're looking at as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing about it, right? Like the ecosystem's it's in a really good spot, right?
Yeah.
So one of my former colleagues when I was in the Army, he and I were in special operations together. He ended up founding a company called Vector. And they're looking at providing.
Oh yeah. Is that Andy?
Andy Yakulis, yeah.
Oh, bro. By the way,
you didn't bring him on, by the way, to talk about his
First of all,
company.
I tried to
So-
bring him on. Didn't he like cancel on us, Andy Euclid?
Yeah, he canceled on.
Yeah, what a dick. No, honestly, he's a good dude. So the first time I ever met him,
Yeah.
we were just starting doing Bullfrog, and he was still, what office did he work at? He was still in the government. I met
Yeah,
him.
he was.
It was cool. What was that?
I think he was at OSC.
Yes.
Yeah,
He was
we
also-
should talk about them, by the way. They're awesome.
Let's definitely talk about OSC. We should talk
Yeah.
about some of their new financial products. We
Yeah,
will.
definitely.
We will. Office of Strategic Capital, Jack. Okay. But before we go to that, Andy. So that first time I met him, we were just probably 6 months into Bullfrog development, or
Okay.
maybe it's 8 months. It was early, probably like a year and a half ago. He was still at OSC, Office of
Yep.
Strategic Capital, and he was like kind of kicking around, starting this cool like new idea called Vector. He didn't have a name at the time. But
Yeah.
he was like kind of kicking it around with me. I just met him, and it looks like he's off the ground now, and
Yeah.
he has some special forces guys on his team.
Yeah.
I forget their names. I'm on text with them, but we were down at the range shooting. This is a small world. Like we were
Yep.
down in Austin, just shooting the guns, and like these two like team guys come up, or like this,
Yeah.
they roll up, and I was like, "Where are these guys from?" And they were like, "Wow, this is a product we've always envisioned. And they start talking about their company, and they're like, it's Vector. And I was like, wait, is that Andy's company? They're like, oh, yeah, we work with him. He's like our co-founder.
No, it's awesome.
And I was like, oh, small world, shit.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. I was like, they're everywhere
Yeah,
already.
no, it's
Andy's his
good.
team. Yeah. So they're doing like, they're trying to help, I think, like drone companies. They're trying to, I'm going to butcher this, but let me see what I think they're doing. They're basically trying to bring, so there's new autonomous tech.
Yep.
They're trying to help like end user brigades or like, units basically adopt some of this autonomy. So they kind of work with tech companies that make drones like Neros or Anduril or whatever.
Right.
And they kind of try to bring this to the troops and like teach them how to use it. I think that's what they do.
Yeah, that's like the service piece of it, right? So they can work with any product, but
Yeah.
it's really about getting the knowledge and the capabilities to the warfighter. And Andy will explain this far better than I can.
Well,
but,
he'll come on the pod.
Yeah, he needs to come talk about it.
He
It's
rejected
pretty
me
cool.
because like at the time I think he just thought we weren't serious about it. But now with our ratings, like we're through the roof. I mean,
Yeah.
We're the number one.
75,000 views on our latest short.
It's huge.
It's
It's good.
so we're popping.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think he'll come on.
Might
Finally.
come on now. Yeah.
We actually had there's another company, Valinor.
Oh yeah, Kurt Freshley's over there.
Oh yeah, Kurt. Yeah,
Kurt's good too.
Do you know? And
Yeah.
then Julie, like the CEO.
Okay.
Yeah, she we invited her on, and then she rejected me too. She was like, "Oh no, sorry, I'm heads down building."
Okay.
And I was
Okay.
like, "Yeah, I mean, we're all heads down building.
Right, that's what we do.
I'm heads up building this podcast. Like, come on, let's get on here. Like, what are you doing?" I was like, anyway.
Yeah.
So I think as our presence grows, they'll all come back to me.
Yeah.
They'll all come back.
But
You
the OSC guys, like Office of Strategic
Oh yeah, let's talk
Capital,
about
like,
let's talk OSC.
I think that's so. I mean, if they're able to come on, they just to talk about what they're looking at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the last NDAA, right, which is why this is important. So in the NDAA, they got new guidance, essentially, like new force of law, to be able to like invest in different strategic areas. And so I think that's one of the things they were looking to do is to expand where they can put their money, right? So it's like market signals. So
Yeah.
if the government's like, hey, we want to invest in component level supply chain things, that's going to be very important in terms of, they're not buying like widgets that are ready made. They're
Yeah.
looking at like that component level thing
Yeah.
that in many cases is dual use, but has the defense application. And then, if you're a small business, there's the small business loans that you can get through
Yeah.
them. Or, if you're a fund and like if like a certain percentage of your fund goes toward some of these tech startups,
Yeah.
then like you're eligible to receive money through OSC as well.
Actually, let's talk about
So,
that one. That's
yeah.
interesting. So, like, if we had a fund
Yeah.
and we do like 80% or some percentage of defense investments,
Yeah.
we can get money from OSC.
That's right.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so the great part about that is, right, like the money comes in, it's all loans essentially. And so it's all revenue neutral. So rather than like, a big appropriations bill of like hundreds of millions of dollars
Yeah.
going to whatever company, now like the way OSC does business is they just have like a loan guarantee that they can then use to like issue the loan, and the loans are repaid, and they're really good repayment contracts, right? Like
Yeah.
It's something that, because it's the government, they're not necessarily looking at having that money paid back in 5 years immediately with a certain amount of interest. They can give better terms over longer periods of time, which for
Yeah.
new companies is ideal.
I mean, I wish the government was trying to get great terms for themselves, like some money. Like we're in debt. I mean, not seeing the deficit here.
Yeah,
Come on,
but that's
government.
like obviously like those guys will be revenue neutral. So
No, I know.
that'll
Yeah,
come down to
of
zero.
Course,
but,
of course.
yeah,
All right.
So,
So how do we address this problem of DJI?
yeah, where do you want to start?
I mean, like, what's the plan
Yeah.
to defeat the Chinese drone threat?
Well, so like again, right? Like we have to just if we produce better things here, which we're fully capable of, then we'll be less reliant on things that come
Yeah.
from China, obviously.
I don't think anyone's really
But-
taking it that seriously, though.
Yeah. Well, I think
my
that's why.
general sense is like I think like a lot of people are like, I don't think it's a big deal, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know like what some people use it for, right? Like if you're a hobby guy and you're throwing a drone up in the sky, like maybe you're less concerned about the national security implications. But if you're like, a sheriff's department somewhere and you're using it for, law enforcement or
Yeah.
whatever, like maybe you don't want like the Chinese Communist Party getting into your drones, right? So I think that's where you have to figure out like, one, we should produce a better product, period, right?
Yeah.
And we should like make sure our supply chains support that. And that's what, we can help do from Washington office, obviously, but also we just have to make sure people are educated about it as well. I mean, not everybody sees like the world through a national security lens, and that makes sense, right? Like if you're not aware of some of these threats, you're not going to necessarily think about it.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the reasons like we do podcasts like this, right? Is to get people to understand like, hey, there's a big problem.
Yeah, we're actually
with some of these things,
the whole joke here. I mean, like we come on, we kind of keep the show light,
Right.
entertaining.
Yep.
But like, we're just actually trying to grow awareness for this problem. Like that truly. Like if you look at our actual like marketing strategy docs, it's like I think I say to Jack, it's like the number one goal of the ACS marketing is to make drones seem like the biggest problem ever. Not just because I'm trying to do that for my jollies, but like it actually is the biggest problem ever. It's terrible.
Oh, it's a huge
like,
problem.
It's so
Yeah.
bad. And I really don't think people are getting it.
Yeah.
Like they look at the video or they watch these cute little quadcopters, but like they're not envisioning bombs on all these
Right.
and then a million of them.
Well, I'll just this
Like
is an
it's
example,
over.
right?
Like we have nothing to defend against this.
From like, even like my past time in the Army, right? When I was in Afghanistan in 2008, right? Like I was in a drone unit. Like we had the Hunter UAV. We put that thing in the sky. Like that was the thing, right? It was that and like Reapers. Like we didn't have these quadcopters. I didn't have to look up. I wasn't worried that, the Taliban was going to fly a drone.
Yeah,
on
now
top
they're
of me,
buzzing
right?
all over
Now
the
they're
place. And it's
everywhere. I think
terrible.
it started happening in like 15, 16, like the whole ISIS fight, right? People were like, oh, they're using them to do recon, and the next thing you know, they're putting bombs on them. And now in Ukraine, I mean, that is like what they use, right?
It's crazy.
So,
and I
the
just
problem
like
is it's huge.
it's crazy. And like I'm like on the Hill yesterday. Like I'm on the Hill, like talking to different offices, doing my job, and like some of the staffers are like, "Well, I mean, have you seen the microwaves? We'll just totally zap all these." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like that thing? These are gonna come from literally every direction.
Yeah,
like you can't point it right there, and it's gonna come from like." Over there and fucking ice you.
Right.
Like there's just no defense. I don't think people are really getting it.
No, and I think
top attack, side attack, back attack. It's literally every direction.
And they're cheap, right?
And
you
they're
can
cheap.
get so many of them, and they're attritable. So
And
like,
someone's literally trying to tell me we'll just zap them out of the sky.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, I think you have to just like there's so many ways to like solve this problem, but you need something that you can like deploy like quickly and cheaply, right? So even like if you look at the Red Sea, all these things like the Houthis are throwing at, ships, and you're shooting them down with all these expensive missiles, right? Well, the math doesn't like favor that long term.
The math doesn't favor it, and it's just not even like for me, it's just the smallest the problem will ever be is like today, right now. Like it's getting I don't think people are like they're not understanding the growth rate.
Yeah.
Like what it is today and what it will be in 5 years is incredibly different. It's not even going to look the same.
Yeah.
And it's just it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And like our
huge.
response has been to not do anything. Like we don't have a drone making company. Like we don't make consumer drones in America. We buy these.
Yeah.
We put them on the shelves at Walmart. And we're like, oh, yeah, you know what? Let's buy some of these at Walmart.
Right.
We're just literally funding the enemy every day.
Yeah.
That's what we do here.
Yeah. And that's why, again, like alternatives, right? We need people to build things cheaply, but we have to help like create market conditions for that, right? So like I'm always like cautious weighing into industrial policy from the Hill because it's like, again, going back to like why this country is so successful, like capitalism works, right? But the government's job is to help in some cases, like make sure that the conditions are right for that to work, right? And so we have to support folks that are like looking to build out the supply chains, and that goes back to
that's
this whole
the thing is like by the way, I don't
right?
I don't actually like know if we should ban this. Like it's not really my place.
Sure,
it's kind of like it's not Castelion's place to say they do peace through deterrence. It's not my place to like tell you, okay, we should ban this. Honestly, it's very complicated.
It is,
and
it is.
I think that different defense tech founders have weighed in on this.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of formulating my opinion. Like I don't, because like I love capitalism. I like free markets. I free trade and stuff. Like,
yeah. I mean,
but it's like we don't have a competitor to this.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what to do. Like that's a really tough issue, to be honest.
I mean, I guess the only thing I would say to challenge that is like China's not playing by the rules either, right? Like if it was a pure capitalist market,
that's like the Palmer Luckey take too. I agree with him.
It's
smart,
true, right?
It's
They just
smart.
dump so much money into subsidies that they undercut everything. Well, that's not really how like the free market's supposed to work, right? Because that's state-sponsored support to a certain product. And so that's where I think we can be judicious here to say, well, how do we support certain sectors to compete effectively?
Yeah.
But ultimately, I agree with you. Like I think capitalism wins. I think the U.S. system wins. I think we can build better things here.
I think so,
and I
too.
think that we just have to make better things in this country that take that on and win. And then the government ought to be able to like support where needed. So, for example, where should you ban this? Like for government use, right? Or for things that are going to present a national security threat. Well, then we should probably use legislation there. But in terms of like, if you're flying a hobby drone somewhere, like there should be a better American product because we have people working on this here. And as long as the market is conducive to that being built here, which it ought to be and it can be, then we'll have a better product here in this country.
That's the hope.
Yeah,
that's the dream
for sure.
I mean, this is an impressive device.
It is.
Obviously.
Yeah, for
look
sure.
How they fold up.
Yeah,
by the way.
it's
You see that?
Yep. Just fits right in your back pocket.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of better product, have you ever seen, this is a Silicon Valley lore. This is a legend of the Valley. Lily, look up the Lily drone. Have I talked about this on the podcast before? Oh yeah. This is the original. This is back when DJI was just getting started too. Lily, like LIL drone, probably like fraud. What type of fraud? Or like, yeah. Oh yeah, this was amazing. If we can get this was so good. Do the Forbes article maybe. This happened like this little drone here. Look how cool this one looks. Look how good that. First of all, look how sweet that looks.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, there's a video. Jack, we'll have to post the video. Or can you find like Lily drone marketing video? They'll know. It'll be the first thing. Like 34 million in pre-orders. They never delivered a single drone.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
Lily drone like video. If you just do like video. Oh yeah.
Lily drone disaster.
Oh no, introducing Lily camera drone. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. This is, watch this. This is so good. This is about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe 14 years ago, 15 years ago or something. Throw and go. Hell yeah.
That's a pretty cool ad.
Hold on, it gets better. All right, so easy landing, obviously. Just throw and go, baby.
Yeah.
My favorite is the one in the water, though. You'll see.
Who's controlling it? Is this supposed to be totally autonomous?
Yeah, it's autonomous in 2012.
Okay.
12 years ago.
Right.
The tracking device is right there.
Okay.
So that's how it like knows where you are. This. That's fake. They faked that. No kidding. They actually faked that.
How did
Literally just digitally edited.
Okay.
They like.
It's like the Navy SEAL come out of the water. Yes. It's pretty good.
Okay. You can cut it now. They throw it into the water.
Yeah.
I remember I was living in San Francisco at the time, and this came out, this video, and I was like, this was before DJI. Like I even knew they were going to be a big company. This was like 2012 or something. And I was like, this is an amazing product.
Yeah.
I was so stoked on this. And then like a couple months later, it was like, yeah, it was totally all fake. The founders totally lied. It never even existed.
Oh.
It's one of the great Silicon Valley frauds.
Yeah.
It's like not Theranos level, but it's like up there.
That's wild, man.
The Lily drone.
I mean, they may just get into video editing instead.
Honestly, honestly, it was a great era. We had like Lily drone. We had like the Juicero. Remember Juicero?
No, this is all before I like was paying attention to this stuff.
You don't know Juicero?
No.
Man, guys, who am I? What are you? Pull up Juicero.
How do you spell it?
Juicero, yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so this was a $400
juicer.
Pull up the Bloomberg. Do Juicero Bloomberg. Like the publication. Yeah, this is it.
Oh, we did talk about this.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Yeah. Oh, paywall.
Wait, no, go back. It's fine. You can just find the video. You've never seen this video?
No.
Oh, this is so funny. It's there. Do you need a $400 juice? This is it. This is perfect.
These videos are all like very well done.
This one is actually hilarious. So, this is by Bloomberg Tech. It makes juice by squeezing packs of cut up fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
You buy the packs from Juicero, and you can only buy them if you have bought a machine. You can't buy it unless you have a machine. Juicero says you need this super powered press, which you can squeeze up to 4 tons. But we decided to give this test squeeze of our own. They're just squeezing.
Just squeeze.
Hold on.
Oh my gosh.
Bro.
Is this a real thing?
This really happened. Literally, Bloomberg released this.
Oh, that's savage, man.
And
Oh
they
my
fucking
gosh.
Juicero the next day, like literally closed up shop. Like Bloomberg.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, like you don't know the Juicero story.
That's such a brutal. Well done.
I mean,
Oh my gosh.
dude, they don't do journalism like this anymore.
No, that's calling it how it is right there. And also, why would you just not get a blender and like throw your banana in the blender,
I
right?
like that they're squeezing it.
Yeah.
Like it's so funny.
Oh man.
Dude, it's so good. Okay,
It's hilarious.
we can be done with the tech tour. But no, the Lily. So Juicero is just in a category of its own, really. But the Lily drone, that's one of the things. Like, it's a product we wanted to work. That was sweet. Like, we want a sweet consumer quadcopter. The whole point I was bringing all this up is like, that's what we need.
Yeah.
We need a sweet consumer quadcopter. It just might be too late, Like, it's just kind of like, not a lot of companies want to go after that. It just doesn't seem like, they already did it. And in capitalism, you know how it is, like first mover advantage. Like, it's a global economy.
Sure.
So that's like our challenge. And it's easy to say, I push back. It's easy to say we should just make a better product. But like, it's kind of already over. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. Like,
But then I wonder what the next thing looks like, right? Like, do you make it to where it can do something that DJI can't? Or, again, what is it? What are you trying to accomplish with your drone? And then, do you just create something better?
We're trying to accomplish killing people.
Yeah. Well, in that case, again, and I think that's where, if you look at the conflicts happening now, drones have changed all of them, right? Like Ukraine or even like Ethiopia, right? Like, that was actually fascinating. Like all the Turkish drones that flooded into that conflict when it looked like the Ethiopians were going to lose, and then suddenly the Turkish drones showed up and they won. Or Armenia, Azerbaijan, that was another one, right? Like those are, if people are paying attention to like when like that real change occurred, when like the cheaper, and we're not even talking about these ones, right? Yeah, that's right.
Azerbaijan, Armenia conflict where the Azerbaijanis just shredded them.
A total game changer, right? Bringing the drones in, right? So
shout out 7 Seconds to Die. We're actually going to have John Tall on the podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, he kind of ghosted me, but he wants to come back on. Or he wants to come on. He's been busy.
Yeah.
But the author of that, he has a new book coming out too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like he says that's the first drone war.
Yeah.
That's like the first fully drone war.
Yeah.
Azerbaijan versus Armenia.
Yeah.
And it was a 44-day war.
Yeah, it wasn't long because once they introduced the drones, they just went in.
Came in.
It was crazy how quick it was over.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, if you look at conflicts in our history, right? Like World War I was like one of those like watershed moments when you basically were like going from horses to like automation, and you're just like industrial scale killing out there on those in those battlefields, which is crazy. And then you fast forward now, and you essentially have some of the same tactics in Ukraine, but you've introduced the drone, which is like the same type of like change, right? So, you got to stay in front of that for sure.
Yeah. What are some? So you start next week.
Yeah,
right?
start next week.
Okay. So what are I guess your specialty, obviously, given your background in the Army and on the Hill, is obviously perfect for the role.
Yeah.
Do you like take over a couple of clients right away? Are you going to find new deals? Like, what's the focus, bro?
Yeah. So I'll definitely know more when I start, but from
Miles
what I can
didn't tell you?
Yeah.
Miles, come on.
Yeah, no. So basically, like it'll be taking over like an existing set of clients, right? And then helping them work through their strategy needs and like determining what that looks like, and then being like, okay, well, if it's more Hill focused, do we bring in some advisors that understand that kind of environment? If it's like we've already got this, but now we're really trying to work on work with this aspect of DoD, like do we bring in somebody who's got some experience there? So I won't be focused necessarily on bringing like clients in, but the cool thing about working in the space is like you meet so many people.
Yeah, you're
right?
always. We're all in sales and not in sales.
That's right.
Obviously,
right.
Like,
so I've already like made a few connections with folks like just this week, sitting around the house, like, okay, well, I know this person might be looking for like something similar, and so just making connections there has been good.
What are your thoughts on the retainer model of DC, where everyone wants a retainer?
Yeah,
wait for the guest. Retainer. Try to explain that. Retainer is like a monthly.
Yeah, just explain how it works. Like in a lobbying context.
A retainer is like what you pay per month to someone.
Yeah.
My mom listening, she may not know what a retainer is. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Retainer.
But like, how does it work for a lobbyist versus like a law firm or something?
Well, like a law firm is, they're not on a retainer at a law firm. They bill in, my law firm bills in 6-minute increments.
Yeah.
They do 6 minutes, $800 an hour.
It depends. Some law firms will do retainers where like you just like, pay them however many, whatever it is up front.
Yeah.
And then like they'll bill from that. And
Yeah, that's
so-
another model
yeah,
where like
so-
they say like, hey, you got to pay me $10,000 a month, and if you
Right.
don't get enough minutes or hours, like I'm just gonna bill you that no matter what.
Yeah.
But that's different.
the model.
In DC in the lobbying model, at least for us, I've noticed they don't have any of that. It's just
Yeah.
you have to pay me a retainer for me to like be your friend,
Yeah.
basically.
I mean, look, I'm kind of like first time venturing out into this
Yeah.
whole space, and so I'm sure there's like in all these companies, a lot of them have been around for a long time, so they have figured out what works.
Yeah.
I think personally, like what makes sense is like whatever the incentive structure is for startups has to be such that like you're incentivized as that government relations firm to provide like actual wins, right?
Yeah.
Like setting up meetings is great because meetings are important and relationships are important, but like what's the end state, right? Like what's the result?
Mhm.
If I can like set up all my meetings for you and like I can call that a success, then I don't necessarily like have skin in the game of whether or not you like win,
Yeah.
right? So I think what Washington office does a little bit differently is like we're there, right? Like we're in the game. Like our incentive is for you to be successful. And so we want to not just set up the meeting. We want to make sure that the strategy you have going into that
Yeah.
meeting is going to yield the result that you want, because then everybody wins.
No, I noticed that. I noticed when I was talking with Miles, like it's kind of a different approach. So I'm pretty excited about what you guys
Yeah.
are doing. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. It's gonna be- it's gonna be
Because
awesome.
you kind of like align incentives, not just with the monthly retainer, but you do like, sometimes there's like aligning with equity. Some startups don't have much cash, so you guys are willing to take bets. Like
Right.
you guys do cool stuff. Like I think your
Yeah.
model, you're trying to innovate on the model a bit,
Right.
which I think is
right.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, that puts us right there, like on the playing field, right? Rather than saying, we got you the meeting, good luck. Now it's like, nope, we're gonna make sure that
Yeah.
the strategy works. And so, I think it's a better model.
But this town is a retainer town,
Yeah,
like in general.
it is.
Like people are like, like let's just say I meet someone and they're like, hey, I got a couple of great connections for you. Like just put me on retainer. And I always go, well, how many connections? They're like, well, I got like 5 really good contacts. And I was like, well, can I just pay you per contact?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll give you $8,000 per meeting. And they really hate when I reduce their life's work to a number like that.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, look, you have 5 friends. I want to meet all of them. That's $40,000. They're like, no, I want $10,000 a month. And I'm like, well, that's $120,000.
Yeah.
Because that's a year.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, what if I just give
Yeah.
you $8,000 per meeting? You only
Right.
have 5 close friends. And then it's a great convo. That's how the convo usually goes.
Yeah.
It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing, right? Like, and I got a lot of lobbyist friends out there, so
So I hope they hear this segment and they're like,
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
Steve, you just reduced my life's
Yeah.
work to my 5 friends.
yeah. And I'm not sure how they structure it, or how different companies do different things, but I'm pretty excited about getting started next week and just like, again, going to work for the folks that are creating some of this brand new stuff.
Well, no, I
So,
mean, some of the clients you guys have are amazing. Like,
yeah,
I
like Havoc AI, like
Havoc's,
yeah, those guys
Dark
are awesome.
Hive. I mean,
Dark
yeah,
Hive, yeah.
yeah.
Because you've had Dark Hive on, so they
Yeah,
talked
that's what
about
I'm
the
saying.
things.
Like,
Yeah, so
and you have
that's good.
And I think Miles, who's the other person on the team? There's 2 others that I know.
Yeah, so Evan Burfield's up
Evan,
there.
yeah. And
Josh
then-
Bear.
Was there a woman too?
Yeah, Colleen.
Colleen,
Laughlin.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
pretty sick team.
Yeah, no, it's incredible.
Are you doing an office in the city or out in Virginia, or are you guys mostly remote?
Yeah, so they're I guess we're up in Union Market area.
Yeah, Union Market.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Like by St. Anselm or whatever.
Yeah. No, it's a
Yeah.
cool area.
We just did dinner on there like 2 nights ago.
Yeah. So
Great area.
yeah, it's cool.
Do you think that's too far away from the hill?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And I also think like because they do a lot of things with Station DC as well, right?
Yeah.
So it gives you kind of a place, like a home base, right? Where like tech entrepreneurs can come up, and like policy folks like to leave the hill too from time to time, right? So if you have a place where you can go to Union Market, go to like a policy dinner or do something where you're talking to people that are developing some of these products, like I think it's just a mindset shift too, right? So I think that's helpful. And it's close.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's
It's
really
amazing.
like, you know, quick Metro, Uber. I mean, you can take a scooter, right? Like
Yeah.
you're on the hill pretty quick if you need to get down there. So
Well, if you ever need to use this space at your Washington office party,
Yeah.
it's not, feel free. Like, honestly, I'll get you guys a key. Like,
yeah, it's a great
we
space.
don't. No one's really using it, honestly. Like, if you want to like have
Yeah.
some people down, we can get a bartender in here, hit
Yeah.
some golf balls, whatever you guys
got
need.
the foosball table. Like,
I'm a
no, it's
fan.
great.
I'm a supporter. So like, if you ever need it,
No, it's
I mean,
cool,
I'm
man.
sure. Like,
Appreciate it.
I'm sure probably this is probably too far away from like Delray's a little out of the way, so probably not. But if you ever need it in Delray, whatever,
Yeah.
I'm down.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
All right.
that's
What
awesome.
else is new for the year? Like you doing besides work? Like you just
Yeah.
you golf or like what do you do?
No, well, I mean, I don't know. Like,
Kids.
it's yeah.
You're like me.
That's-
We raise our kids.
That's it, man. Which is awesome. But no, just trying to figure out now, like, you know, just a huge lifestyle change, right? So
Yeah.
going from like working for government really for my entire adult life.
Yeah, going
to
from like
the private
being
sector.
honestly, you're going from like being
Yeah.
the big man in the big seat to
Yeah.
like now on the outside looking in.
Yeah. It's just a matter of like figuring that out.
You know what's crazy about that, by the way? So we hired so our chief strategy officer Bryce. He was like, you met Bryce Cooper, maybe I don't know.
I haven't met him,
SOCOM
but
guy.
I know who he is.
So
Yeah.
he was like 25 years like in the Army. He was Army acquisitions officer, like SOCOM, like the big man, you know. And I was like, first day on the job, I was like, and this advice for you too. I was like, Bryce, you're now in the private sector.
Yeah.
And literally no one cares about us. Like, unlike where you were the hot girl at school in SOCOM and everyone was trying to sell to you.
Yeah.
I was like, now you're on the other side of the fence, bro.
Yeah.
And let me teach you
Yeah.
about the cold, harsh reality of a startup that no one cares about.
Yeah.
That's what you're in now.
Yeah.
You were the hot girl. Everyone was coming to you in the hill, and now you're on the outside looking. Are you excited about it?
So I think one of the things too is you learn like, you know, who are your friends, right? Who still calls you? So, you know, I'm sure there'll be some of that. But yeah, no, look, I'm super excited, right? Because it kind of gives me the opportunity to just talk about things like
Yeah.
jump on a podcast, for example, or, you know.
Actually, I wanted
like-
to ask about that.
Yeah.
I can't find the law or the rule. Like, why can't people in government come on the podcast?
I don't think it's
Like,
just,
like the Army applications
yeah,
director, she's coming on.
you can do it. It's like dependent on the organization, right? So like some organizations don't want you on a thing that
But
is
is it all just made up? Because it's not constituted. It's not in the law. It's not a
no,
law.
it's not a law.
It's just like
a,
human. It's just humans being human. They're like, oh, don't come
yeah,
on.
probably.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
it's all
they're-
made up.
Yeah, I mean, like if you get it cleared with your, you know, I guess supervisors or whatever, right? And in some cases, they'll want to
Yeah.
have like the press folks of like that organization to like bless off on your talking points and all those things. So you can get some people to do it, but it's more difficult, right? Like if you're private sector or you know unemployed or whatever,
Yeah.
like yeah, you can kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah.
In most cases.
So it
Um,
is just made up.
I mean, yeah, like
Yeah.
most policies, right? I mean, I don't know if made up's the term.
I don't
but
even think
certainly
policies
tailored
but it's not
to,
written
you
down
know-
anywhere. It's not like thou shalt not go on podcast.
It might be
Maybe.
in some organizations. Like it might be like a strict thing, like you don't talk to press, you don't make public statements or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's organization dependent.
Well, I'm
So,
glad you could
yeah.
actually get on now. Like,
Yeah,
I know
no,
we
this
were
is
we were
great.
trying to make it happen for a while,
Yeah.
but you're like, all right, Druba, all right, Steve, like not yet, not yet, not yet.
Right.
Did
Yeah.
we cover all of the? I know when we first had you like sent a list, like OSC, talked about your Washington office. Didn't we have a couple other? NDAA we talked about.
Yeah.
Was there? There's another couple of topics. Now before we wrap, I thought there was something else that you originally sent back in the day.
Yeah. No, I think we talked
It was
about
a
all
financial.
that.
There was another financial thing, wasn't there? Oh no, that was OSC.
Yeah.
But there was like a
OC,
product
yeah.
that they were just releasing about loans.
Yeah, so they had so this was back in like I think late last year
Yeah.
when they had their loans and loan guarantees, and like one of the first loan guarantee from OSC was like an equipment financing loan.
Yeah.
So if you're a company that was trying to build something, but you needed to like bring in equipment to do that, whatever it is, right? Then you could use that loan. And as you know, like in a startup, money's tight. So like
Yeah.
whatever money you can free up that you're not having to spend on your product, like that's where this was helpful, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, so that's what came in there. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how they develop.
Yeah.
I hope that they, continue to grow and that their mission like continues to grow because
Yeah.
again, I think that that's where if DoD is sending that signal to the market to say we're investing in a lot more things across all these portfolios, we're not just looking for one specific,
Yeah.
thing. And this kind of goes back to I think, if we look at like government. Just procurement and acquisitions as a whole, right? Like where can we fix things, right? So, and I think, again, moving away from like the cost plus contracting, right? To
Yeah.
like that's been I think that worked a long time ago. I don't think it works now.
Yeah.
And then like also just like trying to just like spread that out a little bit to say where's the best product? Where can we go out and find the best thing, and not necessarily go to the same thing that we've had. Again, like realigning our incentive structure to like just get more players, I think, on the field. I think that's where we can do a lot. So actually, I had a great conversation with Sham Sankar from Palantir. Like he talks about this all the time, right?
Yeah.
With this, like,
That's like the
defense
CTO,
innovation.
right?
Yeah. I mean,
he's smart.
He's super smart, and
Yeah.
he like wrote this whole like American Defense Reformation thing, which I think is kind of gets at what we're talking about too.
Yeah.
But that's where I think we really just have to make sure we're just incentivizing more competition, right?
Dude, those
just getting
Palantir
more
guys are
people out.
crazy.
What's
The
that?
Palantir leadership's crazy.
I mean, they're doing some pretty incredible
Alex,
things.
Yeah, like the team, crushing it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
you watch their stock price, you're like, what is happening?
Yeah, no,
here?
it's incredible.
Wild. But yeah, they're
So-
doing some like, they're basically the AI defense company.
Yeah.
Like they position themselves pretty well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's surprising too, because they came out of nowhere kind of, because they were doing commercial stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
And then they like, in the last 10 years, really got their teeth in, sink their claws into the government, and they've done really well. It's kind of like better. It's like a much more technical, much smarter, like Booz Allen. Like it's a consultancy. They have a software platform, but they're like software developers like in-house that are like really talented.
Yeah.
And they were like able to like position themselves and just totally outmaneuver like all of these like old school agencies that used to work with the government. So they honestly have crushed it.
I mean, I remember working with Palantir stuff back in like, I think it was 2011. Like I was in Afghanistan, and we were like told to use this software, right?
Yeah.
And like it was terrible. And then we were like, why are we using this terribly like produced software? And then like, but this Palantir is way better. And so I started using that, and I was like, okay, we should all be using Palantir.
Yeah. It's
And so we had like a license for it, but like because we were a special operations unit, so we had it, but like most of the like conventional guys didn't. And so we were like, man, but this is so much better. Like you guys should take a look at this, right?
It's just way better. I mean, they totally leapfrogged like the existing legacy providers. And so, a lot of people talk about their stock being overvalued, but it's probably not. I'm not investment advice as usual when I talk about stocks on the pod, but I think it's pretty sick.
Yeah, no, I
honestly.
think they make good products.
And the leadership seems good.
Right.
Yeah. I think that, I always talk with someone like Anduril or Palantir. Obviously, like they're very similar investors, same people. Like Peter Thiel's behind both of them, basically. Like which one will be more valuable in 10 years?
Sure.
I think, Palantir it's unfair because Palantir has a massive head start. Like they're older. So,
yeah.
But I wonder. They're both like sick, obviously.
Yeah, but they're partnering on certain
They're
things now
partnering,
too,
yeah.
right?
It's just like, it's fun to watch them because like one of them, like Anduril taking more of a robotics approach. Like they have products like the Roadrunner, Anvil, all these Pulsar. And like Palantir really is more of a software play. Like so like it's hard to know like which will, because like how the government works with the PE lines and all we talk about is like we procure stuff.
Yeah.
Like we procure turrets or we procure missiles. Castelion.
Yeah.
But we don't like necessarily procure software that way.
Yeah.
Starting to change though, don't you think? Like how do you see that?
Yeah, no, I think that's where like, whether it's, but again, I think you need all of it, right? You need the hardware, you need the software to go with it. I think that's where like, Dark Hive, when we look at what they're producing, they've got the actual hardware going out there. They've got the software to accompany it and like the way to control that.
But so that makes it easier, honestly, for the government because they like to procure things.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like hard to put like a SaaS contract as a PE. Like they're not like putting a PE line for a software contract. Usually.
Yeah.
Like they don't usually do that.
Yeah, but that's where I think, again, the more you get the cross-pollination between policymakers like Hill staff and then, startup founders and then established companies and like newer companies like Anduril and Palantir, like ideally you'd want like, 20 more of like those types of companies producing hardware and software that can get after solving some of these problems. And like creating that ecosystem is where the policymakers and the staff come in. And like helping to educate that is where I think entrepreneurs, founders, investors, VCs, like bring all those people together.
You left out professional podcasters. I'm a professional rapper podcaster.
No,
bro.
but it's like such an important piece of the education, right? People listen to this and say, that's what we need to do. And there's people doing that already, right? There's already some of these like startup to, to Hill like conversations. But like the more we can foster those environments, like going forward, I think, the more successful we're going to be.
Hell yeah. I think that's a great soundbite to end it on, bro. Love it. Thanks for coming in, dog.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Man. Later.